bum 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 ba-dum bum 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 ba-da-da-dum bum bum ba-dum ba-ba-dum dun 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 da 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 dum bum bum ba-dum ba-ba-dum. Hello, my friends. Hello. It's Monday night at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, and we do one thing and one thing only every 8 o'clock Eastern Time, Monday evenings. For years, we've never skipped one. The only time it's ever happened, it's not that I actually skipped it, it's that we had internet shutdowns or electrical outages and that kind of thing. So hello, my friends. My name is Joette Calabrese, and I'm here, as I said, every Monday. And we do one thing and one thing only, and that is I teach you what I know about homeopathy, and I hope that you kind of get involved with each other, join study groups together. We have our gateway classes or groups, etc. I hope that you consider doing that. So for those who don't know me, that's what we do. For those who do know me, hi, friends. Howdy, Joe at Elizabeth Post says, looking forward to tonight's discussion. Hi, Elizabeth. Nice to see you. And Kristen, hi from Japan. Hi, Kristen. Great to see you. Paula Sibley from Michigan. And happy Monday night from Oregon, says Kim. Lynn from Los Angeles. Nancy from Idaho. Harry. Hi, Harry. Hi, Carrie in Texas. Hi, Linda from Pennsylvania. And Tammy from Montana. No, sorry, Mantua, Ohio. Vicki, Robin, Allison, April in Kentucky, and Elizabeth. Hi, Elizabeth. It's so nice to see everyone. Hi, Ellen. Hi, Susie B. It's great to see all of you. Yeah, it is best part of the week. It's the beginning of the week. It's a whole new way of thinking, right? Fresh week, fresh way of like putting our solidifying our week, establishing our week with information, and then hopefully you jump from there. My friends, get a passion. As I said in my presentation at the National Center for Homeopathy last week, if you happen to catch that. If you didn't, go to the National Center for Homeopathy, friends. Just go to their site, and you can look at, I think it's programs. It's under the category, and you can download my program, the presentation I made last Wednesday night on boomer apathy. It's I've coined that term, and it means, for the elderly, for those of us who are boomers. Apparently, we're elderly. So, yeah, and what I said there was D'Angelo. I've forgotten his first name. I want to say Vincent, but it's D'Angelo said, hey, develop a passion for learning, because then you'll never get old. It's really true. There's nothing like learning. There's nothing like carrying on and studying further and going better and striving. It's such a beautiful thing. Especially when it's for the goal is to help our families, ourselves, our pets, our neighbors, our friends, our homeschool friends, our church mates, our extended family. Nothing quite like it. So we're not going to be too long tonight. I've got to dash off to another class, and I've got to go a little bit. Actually, it was scheduled a little earlier than it should have been, I think. So I'm going to have to move along a little bit more quickly. Tonight, we're going to talk about a pain in the neck, right? A pain in the neck. It's not just an adage, my friends. And what I said was, for many, it's a real thing, and it affects St. Bernards. And what I had in mind was the St. Bernards who have the care package, the barrel at their neck, and they're holding that up. They have to hold their head up in spite of this heavy barrel at their neck, or a giraffe who's got to constantly, everything is about that, his or her neck. So it is something that has affected probably everyone here on one level or another. And so what comes to mind are specific medicines. But before, let me just take a sip of water. Before I discuss which medicines come to mind first, let me say that these medicines, these homeopathic medicines, I call them remedies, but I find that by calling them remedies too often, people get the impression that this is, light-footed. And really what this is very good, important medicine. In fact, the FDA is categorizes homeopathy not as a supplement because they're not, nor as vitamins because they're not. They're not home remedies. No, they're not that either. They are considered medicines. And they used to be called drugs. But in today's world, the nomenclature drug more insinuates that that means synthetic drugs of commerce. And we certainly are not that, are we? So, excuse me. So, we're going to talk about medicines, and I usually use them in a 30th potency or a 200. It's very rare that I don't. I generally, if it's a mild issue, then I might go with a 30. If it's a more sobering condition, then I might use it in more likely use it in a 200. And I use these medicines, these homeopathic, parenthetically God's medicine, these medicines in 200 potency and rather frequently if it's extreme. So if it's really bad, we're going to use it much more frequently. What's frequent? Well, we might, at the onset of utilizing the medicine, we're going to use it perhaps every 15 minutes, maybe for a couple of doses or so. So we're going to take it at 10 o'clock, then maybe at 10:15, then 10:30. And if by that time things have shifted and the pain is relieving or gone, we don't carry on. We stop. If the pain returns at 11:30, what are you going to do? Start over again. But if it takes 2 doses, that's great. Sometimes it takes 3 doses, 10, 10:15, 10:30, 10:45. Okay, maybe it takes those 3 doses. Then it feels much improved or somewhat improved. If it's only somewhat improved, then go ahead and take that next dose at 11. Now, I'm not giving you an exact time to take it. I'm giving you that as an example so that you have a feel for how often, how frequently to use these medicines. Now, we're not going to do that every 15 minutes forevermore. It's really, excuse me, it's kind of starting up the engine, the way they used to have to crank up old cars. Crank, 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 crank. Okay, okay, now it's running. Okay, now if the car stops, what do? We don't say, oh no, the car has stopped. I guess it's not going to work. No, we get the crank again and we start up again. And that's why I want you to think about homeopathy. It's very easy, especially for people who are new. Those of you who are seasoned, you already understand this. But for those of you who are new, don't assume that just because you took 1 dose, it's going to act in an acute situation. And I'm assuming that tonight we're pretty much talking about an acute situation. Now, what is acute? Acute means there's a natural beginning and a natural end. A chronic means there's a beginning and it will never end. I mean, if left untreated. So allergies, chronic, right? Broken bone, acute. It will mend. At some point, it'll be over with. Let's say cancer, chronic, unless, of course, it's interfered with nicely with homeopathy, etc. But, or what we're talking about, let's say there's a laceration. It's an acute. So we're talking about an acute situation. Now, it doesn't mean that just because it's lasting a long time that it's not acute. Okay? Regardless, we're still going to use the same medicines, and we're going to still use them in the same fashion. Alrighty. I hope you can all hear me. I'm trying to stay close to my microphone. I know sometimes it really, it's rather sensitive, and you need to hear me closer. Alrighty, so let's start. Medicine number 1. Let's see. See if you can tell me. What do you think? A pain in the neck. I want to hear. I know, because you guys are really on top of it. We can hear, says Rachel. Okay, great. Hi, Rachel. Good, sounds great. Okay, what is the top medicine for a pain in the neck? I love to see what you come up with. Sounds good. Arnica, Deborah, that's interesting. Arnica, I would not have thought. Yes. April, Rhus tox. Yes. Ruta, Lori says that's going to be my second choice. Shelley, Ruta, Rhus tox, says Pamela, Rhus tox. Arnica, yes. Arnica, okay, here we go. Let's talk about this. Generally, when we think of a pain in the neck, we think of overuse, like what the St. Bernard has to go through. carrying that heavy barrel. It's overuse, overextension of use, stressing the muscles, the tendons, the sinuous matters, stressing it. Shoveling the snow for too long, you can get a pain in the neck. How about going to the dentist and holding the mouth wide open for too long? That's a stressor to the muscles, to the joints, to the TMJ as well. But that is not as well. It's more likely to be for the joint in the jaw. But it can also affect the neck, and it can also affect head pain, or the head, and cause pain. So yes, Rhus tox is generally my favorite. I'm going to read to you from Robin Murphy's Materia Medica. Now, I don't have the 4th edition in front of me. I have the 3rd edition. That's Nature's Materia Medica from Robin Murphy. Neck. He says, neck, stiff after injuries or whiplash, stiff neck with painful tension, neck strain or injury with stiffness, stiff neck from, get this, a draft. So I'll give you an example of that. Or dampness. Better from heat or massage. So imagine this. Imagine that someone's driving the car and you're sitting in the passenger seat and it's a long road trip and you fall asleep and your head is a little crooked and maybe it's fallen back or it's fallen to the side and the air conditioner blows on your neck. That's the perfect time for a stiff neck to present. Torticollis is the proper medical term. Torticollis, stiff neck. The cold air and the overexertion, that is overexertion. When your neck falls into the incorrect position, that's overexertion. If you go to a hotel and you don't bring your own pillow, I bring my own pillow. I find, or I have found, that sometimes I wake up with a little stiff neck or a severe stiff neck. That's overexertion of sorts. It means that we've pushed it too far. It's in an unnatural position, holding the mouth open too long in the dentist chair, falling asleep with the neck crooked, shoveling snow, lifting bales of hay. Now, you might think it would be across the shoulders, and it could potentially be, but it could also affect the neck, or just the neck and not the shoulders. It depends on where we're most susceptible. So my first choice is Rhus tox. Rhus toxicodendron. Yes. And it is a beautiful medicine. And when it's very extreme, I'm going to be very incautious right now. And what I mean by very extreme. I personally have used it in a 1M potency. I don't recommend it to people who are new, because if you don't get the medicine correct and you decide to use something else, and you use it in a 1M, it's not a good start, shall we say. So I like to use it in a 30 or a 200 more often, and I like to urge people to do that as well. So Rhus tox, 30 or 200, and you can use it every 15 minutes. Now, there's another medicine that we often think of when we think of a pain in the neck. Anybody else? Well, we already heard. Somebody also, I bring 2 pillows, says Paula. Somebody else already said it. Rhus, says Tony. Yeah, Rhus is my next choice. Not in order of what's most valuable, but Rhus tox is, we use Rhus tox in so many common situations that Rhus is kind of secondary, even though it can be useful in any one of these situations, but more often than not, Rhus tox is the medicine. Elizabeth says, I love Ruta, though I know Rhus tox is often first choice. Ruta, let's talk about Ruta. R-U-T-A, graveolens. Ruta, R-U-T-A. So, Ruta is for when it's a stiff neck, pain in the neck, but especially if the head feels heavy or even lame. Where you say, I can barely even lift my head. This feels terrible. My head feels too heavy. I don't know that I can even lift it. It can still be potentially Rhus tox. More likely, we're going to go to the top. We're going to go to number 1 first. More likely, my friends, it's Ruta graveolens. Ruta, head, Let's see, headache. Let's see, let's get into neck. Where did I have neck? Well, it also relates to the head because of that heaviness. And there's a soreness, no doubt about it. There's a very heaviness in the and soreness where the pain is often feels as though there's a nail in the area. It's a very specific kind of a pain sometimes. Now, with Rhus tox, one of the most comforting things, what we often say in homeopathy, is better from. I'm back to Rhus tox for a moment. Better from. So a lot of times I say, well, I ask someone, is it better from cold? Is it better from warmth? They say nothing makes it better. Okay, all right, I understand. I get that. We know that you're in a lot of pain. Instead, what I want you to think is, what do you find yourself doing naturally? Not what the chiropractor told you to do or the orthopedic surgeon told you to do, put ice on it, because I'm going to be honest with you, friends, I don't think we should ever use ice on these kinds of things. I really don't. I think it just freezes it up. I think it stiffens it worse. It might numb it. I suppose if you must have numbness, I prefer that you use the homeopathic medicines instead of ice. But I know that is the method du jour. So they'll tell you, don't ever use heat. But let me tell you this. I'm not telling you that you should use heat, warmth, hot water bottle, or sit in a hot bath, or let the hot water run on the back of your neck. But when it comes to better from, if someone says, I just have to get into the bath, if I could just soak my neck, it would feel so much better. That's more likely Rhus tox. However, it can also be Rhuda. So better from heat. And again, I'm not encouraging you to use heat, but we do want to be able to differentiate. And we can differentiate between Rhus tox and Rhuda with that. Even though Rhuda also, it finds that they're comforted by heat, Rhus tox is very clearly comforted by heat and by pressure. So it often feels really great to get a hot water bottle and put it on the back of the neck. Or one of those beanie bags that you put in an oven and put that on, and then press against the back of the neck or the side of the neck, wherever it might be presenting. But if that is paramount, both of them have it, Rhus tox has it more definitively. All right, let me take another sip of water. Now, some are saying Arnica. And Arnica is definitely a consideration. It's not my top. It's about third one down, just the way we're doing this today. Arnica is more from an injury, a little less likely to be overexertion, an injury from overexertion. Arnica is more often likely to be something where the person actually fell on it or pulled a muscle. You know, they picked up something heavy and they pulled a muscle. That could be more likely Arnica. Now, I'm not saying Arnica would not work for a pain in the neck, but it depends on the etiology, what caused it. I'm not going to say we would not consider Arnica if Rhus tox and Rhuda did not act. Yes, I would certainly go to Arnica if given those same circumstances that Rhus tox and Rhuda are called for. But Arnica is more often an injury. Now, let me put it to you this way. Next week, I'm going to be writing about labor, because Labor Day is coming up. I'm going to talk about mothers who go into labor, women, and pets, dogs, and all animals who go into labor. And one of our top medicines for labor is Arnica. Now, Arnica is needed because of the child hitting the head against the soft tissue, and because it's soft tissue, it's more, it's not hard. Of course, there is hard muscle, but it's not as hard an area. It's a softened area where the blows are from the baby moving along. It can also be certainly from the uterus opening and the os opening up and wide enough so that the baby can get through. But it's a softer tissue remedy, whereas the neck has muscles and tendons and, of course, bones. Now, Rhus tox is a great medicine for joints as well. So is Rhuda, and for bones. So it's hard to know, is this a muscle? Sometimes we know in the stiff neck, or is this a tendon, or is it or is it a combination of both? Is it a bone? Is it a joint? So it's hard to say sometimes. Okay, now let's look at one more. This is a remedy that you may not know about. Let's see what I've got here, though. I love Ruta, though. I know Rhus tox. Okay. Yes, Elizabeth Poe says Rhus tox is great for the neck. It is absolutely so. I want you to think of Rhus tox for the neck first. Each joint has kind of a specific medicine that works for it. Even though we know generally Rhus tox is great for joints, so is Ruta, so is Symphytum, so is Arnica, etc. Okay. Let's see. Elizabeth Poe says, we love the R&R combo. What she's talking about, I think, is from, could it be from OHM, that they manufacture a product that's Rhus tox and Ruta mixed together? Yes, thank you, Susie. Ruta also is for a muscle knot. So if it feels like it's hard and a knot, now we're talking about Ruta. That's more likely. Rhus tox generally does not have knots. Ruta has a feeling like there's something really tight there. And your spouse might say, wow, when I rubbed it, it's as hard as can be. Or you might notice it yourself. That is an indication that we're thinking of Ruta. Elizabeth says, I get chronic muscle knots on my neck and shoulders, but Ruta 200 2 times a day helped more than I thought possible. I haven't had to go to the chiropractor for months and months, when before I had to go every month. You bet. All right. There's one more medicine that I want to bring, Harry. Oh, no, Zambonis. Symphytum could be used here, too, but I'm going to teach you a different one. I want you to know about, where did it go? Another medicine, Esculus. It's spelled Aesculus, Esculus. I can barely see. There's so little light in here. Aesculus. Aesculus. Esculus. Esculus is great for hip pain. I don't want to talk too much about that because that's not what our discussion is tonight. But it can also be very useful for pain in the neck. It is, I'm not going to say we start with it. We automatically start with Rhus tox. We consider Ruta next. We might consider Arnica depending on the circumstances. But Esculus is one of our great medicines for, let me see if I can find exactly what I wanted to read to you. Esculus. We're going to have to move along here quickly. Let me get this Esculus here. Head. I urge you to read up on this. Esculus is great for the back of the sacrum and the hips, of course, but also, why am I having a hard time finding exactly where I want it to be? Head, neck. I'm sorry, I don't know, I've got very bad light here, excuse me. Nose, mouth, modalities. I'm still in Esculus, friends. Back, chest. Okay. It's pain in the occipital area. That's what I was looking for. Pain in the occipital area. Neuralgic stitches from right to left through into the forehead, followed by flying pains in the epigastrium, but bruised pain in the occipital, in the frontal area. And that can lead all the way to the shoulders. Now, I have to mention one more thing about this. Just because the pain is in the neck doesn't mean it can't go to the shoulders, nor does it mean that it can't go to the head. So a lot of times when people start with pain in the neck, it can go either way. It can go horizontally, it can go up to the head. And so I want you to remember that if someone is complaining about a headache that originated in the neck, we're still going to be thinking about these medicines, including Esculus. So we've got number 1, Rhus tox. Number 2, real close second, is Ruta. Number 3, maybe Arnica, depending on what the cause was. And number 4, Esculus. All right, friends, I'm going to go to my Mighties. For those of you who are Mighties members, stay on, and I'll just answer questions tonight. And we're almost ready to go over. Right, Perry?